Roughly one-third of Iran's total surface area is suited for farmland, but because of poor soil and lack of adequate water distribution in many areas, most of it is not under cultivation. Only 12% of the total land area is under cultivation, but less than one-third of the cultivated area is irrigated. The rest is devoted to dry farming. Some 92% of agro-products depend on water. The western and northwestern portions of the country have the most fertile soils. Iran's food security index stands at around 96%. 35% of the total land area is used for grazing and small fodder production. Most of the grazing is done on mostly semi-dry rangeland in mountain areas and on areas surrounding the large deserts of central Iran. The non-agricultural surface represents 53% of the total area of Iran, as follows. 39% of the country is covered by deserts, salt flats and bare rock mountains, not suited for agricultural purposes. An additional 7% of Iran's total surface is covered by woodlands, and 7% is covered by cities, towns, villages, industrial areas and roads. At the end of the 20th century, agricultural activities accounted for about one-fifth of Iran's gross domestic products and employed a comparable proportion of the workforce. Most farms are small, less than 25 acres, and are not economically viable, which has contributed to the wide-scale migration to cities. In addition to water scarcity and areas of poor soil, seed is of low quality and farming techniques are antiquated. All these factors have contributed to low crop yields and poverty in rural areas. Further, after the 1979 revolution, many agricultural workers claimed ownership rights and forcibly occupied large, privately owned farms where they had been employed. The legal disputes that arose from this situation remained unresolved through the 1980s, and many owners put off making large capital investments that would have improved farm productivity, further deteriorating production. Progressive government efforts and incentives during the 1990s, however, improved agricultural productivity marginally, helping Iran toward its goal of re-establishing national self-sufficiency in food production. Land use and irrigation. Average annual rainfall is 800 mm, but in Iran the annual rainfall is only 220 mm. Overall, Iran's soil is not well suited for large-scale agriculture. About 12% of the country's total land area of 1,636,000 square kilometers is cultivated. Still, 63% of the cultivable lands have not been used, and 185,000 square kilometers of the present farms are being used with 50 to 60% capacity. Both irrigated and rain-fed farming are used in Iran. In 2005, some 13.05 million hectares of land was under cultivation, of which 50.45% was allocated to irrigated farming and the remaining 49.55% to rain-fed system. As of 2013, the amount of cultivated land that is irrigated increased to 8 million hectares, while 10 million hectares remain rain-fed. Crops and plants. The wide range of temperature fluctuation in different parts of the country and the multiplicity of climatic zones make it possible to cultivate a diverse variety of crops, including cereals, fruits, vegetables, cotton, sugar beets, sugarcane and pistachios, nuts, olives, spices e.g., saffron, raisin, tea, tobacco, berberis and medicinal herbs. More than 2,000 plant species are grown in Iran, only 100 of which are being used in pharmaceutical industries. The land covered by Iran's natural flora is 4 times that of Europe. Wheat, rice, and barley are the country's major crops. The Iranian grain sector is highly regulated. Producers receive subsidized access to input costs such as fertilizer and pesticides, as well as a guaranteed support price for their crops. Wheat. In 2007, Iran exported close to 600,000 tons of wheat. Approximately 6 million tons of wheat will be purchased from 15 countries in 2009 because of the drought in 2008, thus making Iran the largest wheat importer in the world. Wheat production reached 14 million tons in 2010. According to the FAO, Iran is the 12th leading producer of wheat in the world, with an average production of 14 million tons in 2011. Rice. Iran's total rice production stands at 2.2 million tons per annum, whereas annual consumption is about 3 million tons. Iran has imported about 630,000 tons of rice from UAE, Pakistan and Uruguay worth $271 million in 2008 and 1.4 million tons of rice worth $800 million in 2009. Iran's rice imports dropped by 40% in 2010. Iran's rice production in 2011 was 2.4 million tons, which increased from a total of 2.3 million tons in the previous year. Iran has 3,800 rice milling units. The average per capita consumption of rice in Iran is 45.5 kilograms, which makes Iranians the 13th biggest rice consumers. Rice is mostly produced in northern Iran. Rice has been cultivated for many years in Gilan province of Iran. In Gilan province, many indica rice cultivars including Gurda, Hashemi, Hassana, and Garib have been bred by farmers. Sugar. In 2008, Iran had a shortage of 400,000 tons to 600,000 tons of sugar nationwide. Sugar companies suffered from massive imports of cheap sugar over the past few years, which led to a 50% drop in the capacity of the sugar industry's production in 2008. The lack of import tariffs was the main reason for the domestic sugar industry suffering in this manner. Pistachio. Iran ranks the world's largest pistachio producer and exporter, followed by USA and Turkey. After oil and carpets, pistachios are Iran's biggest exports. About 200,000 tons for $840 million in 2008. More than 350,000 people earn a living from the nut, most of them in vast groves of the desert oases in southeast. Iran's share in the global pistachio market reached 50% in 2010. Saffron. Saffron is cultivated in many regions of the country. The provinces of North Khorasan, Khorasan-Razavi and South Khorasan in the northeast have the highest production share. Iran's saffron is exported to the United Arab Emirates, Spain, Japan, Turkmenistan, France, Italy and US. The northeastern Khorasan-Razavi province exported 57 tons of saffron worth $156.5 million to 41 countries in 2010. The high production cost comes from the exhaustive process of extracting the stamens from the flower and the amount of flowers necessary to produce small amounts of spice, but the process is in the process of being automated now. Iran is the largest producer of saffron, with 93.7% of the world's total production. Tea production rose to 190,000 tons in 2007 from 130,000 tons in 2004. 75,000 tons of tea is smuggled into Iran each year. Horticulture. Close to 19 million tons of horticultural crops will be produced by the end of fourth plan. Fruits. Iran exported more than 35,000 tons of citrus fruit valued at $20.8 million to 36 countries in 2008. Iran is the largest producer of berries and stone fruits in the world. See also, fruit in Iran. Livestock. Of the country's livestock, sheep are by far the most numerous, followed by goats, cattle, donkeys, horses, water buffalo, and mules. The raising of poultry for eggs and meat is prevalent. One area where production infrastructure has progressed rapidly is the poultry sector. The face of the industry has now been transformed dramatically so that the entire supply chain process can take place domestically. Iran has also a large dairy industry and imported close to 2 million tons of feed grain annually in 2006. The raising of pigs is forbidden in Iran due to Islamic law. Production of livestock increased over the past 3 years to reach 11.3 million tons in 2008 from the 10.6 million tons in 2007, and 9.9 million tons in 2006. Meat processing capacity is at 400,000 tons and 140 production units. In 2008, per capita meat consumption was 26 kg. Iran produced 950,000 tons of red meat and 1,600,000 tons of chicken in 2010. Fishing. Access to the Caspian Sea, the Persian Gulf, the Gulf of Oman, and many river basins provides Iran the potential to develop excellent fisheries. The government assumed control of commercial fishing in 1952. One government-owned enterprise, the Northern Sheelot Company, was established in 1952, and a second, the Southern Sheelot Company, was established in 1961. In recent years, illegal and off-season fishing, discharge of industrial and agricultural pollutants, overfishing by other Caspian littoral states, and other unfavorable conditions have endangered Caspian fish resources. Between 1990 and 2004, Iran's total annual Caspian Sea catch declined from 98,000 tons to 32,533 tons, including 463 tons of sturgeon, which yields high-quality caviar. Iran has 1,786 kilometers of coastline on the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. These southern waters are rich in fish and other marine resources. In 2004, the catch off the southern coast totaled 299,000 tons. This represented an average annual increase of 12.6% since 1976. The southern catch either is used directly by households and restaurants or processed and preserved by industry. Expansion of the fishery infrastructure would enable the country to harvest an estimated 700,000 tons of fish annually from the southern waters. However, increased pollution from the oil industry and other enterprises poses a serious threat to this area's fishing industry. Since the revolution, increased attention has been focused on producing fish from inland waters. Between 1976 and 2004, the combined take from inland waters by the state and private sectors increased from 1,100 tons to 110,175 tons. Important fish include sturgeon, bream, whitefish, salmon, mullet, carp, catfish, perch, and roach. More than 200 species of fish are found in the Persian Gulf, 150 of which are edible, including shrimps and prawns. Some 692,000 tons of aquatics will be produced across the country by the end of 2008. Of which 236,000 tons would be bred and the rest fished from the sea. Per capita consumption of seafood in Iran will reach 8.5 kilograms by March 2009 and 10 kilograms a year later. Caviar. Iranian caviar export is expected to reach $22 million by March 2009. Iran is the world's largest producer and exporter of caviar in the world, exporting more than 300 tons annually. Forestry. In 2005, Iran's forest area totaled about 11 million hectares, approximately 7% of the country's surface area. Adequate rainfall and a favorable climate have created 1.5 million hectares of dense forest in the Caspian region. The remainder is distributed among western forests, southern forests, desert forests, and forests scattered in other locations. Supervised by the Department of Natural Resources, the Caspian forests produce 820,000 cubic meters of timber products in 2004, more than 90% of which was for industrial use. The largest and most valuable woodland areas are in the Caspian region and the northern slopes of the Elburz MTS, where many of the forests are commercially exploitable and include both hardwoods and softwoods. Although forests and pastures are nationalized and 12% of forested land is nominally protected, forest destruction by the private sector is routine. Limited forest areas, mismanagement, and destruction have compelled Iran to import lumber and wood products. In addition, forest fires destroy 20,000 hectares of forest area each year. Between 1954 and 2004, an estimated 41% of Iran's forest land was lost. According to the former director of Iran's Department of Environment, the rate of destruction of forestland amounts to 100,000 hectares per year. The cutting of trees is rigidly controlled by the government, which also has a reforestation program.